All right, let's dive into what might just be the greatest letter about the church ever written. We're talking, of course, about Paul's letter to the Ephesians.
You know, that quote just hits you, doesn't it? It perfectly captures this unbelievable contrast that's at the very heart of the letter. The guy writing this, he's not free. He's a prisoner. And yet, his mind just soaring through all of eternity.
So, picture this. It's Rome, around 62 AD. The Apostle Paul is under house arrest, literally shackled to a Roman soldier. But here's what's so wild, and this is the crucial point. Unlike so many of his other letters, he's not writing to put out some fire or fix a problem. Nope, he's writing to reveal what God has already done.
An ambassador in chains. I mean, what a title, right? Paul calls himself an ambassador in chains, a representative for the King of Kings, whose official post just happens to be a prison. And it's from this incredibly unlikely embassy that he drafts this cosmic blueprint for all of us.
So he's not writing a rule book here. He's unveiling a masterpiece. It's like a plan so vast, so enormous, that even 2,000 years later, we're all still standing way too close to it to see the whole picture. And to even begin to get the right perspective on this plan, we have to understand the city it was sent to.
So let's talk about that shadow. Let's go to the city of Ephesus. This was a place where spiritual power wasn't just some abstract idea. Oh no, it was the entire economy, the whole identity of the city, all of it built in the shadow of one single massive temple.
So welcome to Ephesus. I mean, this place was a metropolis. As the capital of Roman Asia, it was a hub for absolutely everything. Commerce, politics, you name it. But it was also a city just drenched in the supernatural and magical arts. To give you an idea, when new believers there burned their magic scrolls, the total value was 50,000 pieces of silver. That's an insane amount of money. This was a world that took spiritual reality very, very seriously.
And at the very heart of all of it was this, the Temple of Artemis, one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world. We're talking about a structure bigger than a modern football field, held up by over 100 massive marble columns. The entire city revolved around the worship of this goddess. You had silversmiths, priests, pilgrims. The whole economic system depended on this temple.
So what happens when Paul's message about a single creator God starts to catch on? Well, it isn't just a friendly theological debate, it's a full-blown economic threat. It actually sparked a citywide riot. Thousands of people packed into this huge 25,000-seat theater, shouting this one phrase, "Great is Artemis of the Ephesians," for 2 hours straight. That is the spiritual battlefield Paul is writing his letter into.
Okay, so into this world, this clash of competing spiritual powers, Paul unveils God's master plan, the unveiled blueprint. And trust me, he does not start small. He starts before the beginning of time itself.
The letter just bursts open with one of the longest sentences in the Greek language. We're talking 12 verses, one single breathless sentence. And no, that's not bad grammar, that's pure worship. It's the sound of someone who is so completely overwhelmed by a vision that they literally can't even stop to put in a period.
And what's the vision? It's about God's oikonomia. Yeah, we get our word economy from this Greek word, but it's so much bigger than that. Think of it like a master architect, or maybe the manager of a huge household, carefully administering all of creation, all of history, and guiding it all toward one specific, magnificent goal.
And if you look closer, hidden inside that one long, breathless sentence, you find this beautiful structure. It's like the choreography of heaven. You see the Father, who chooses us before the world even began. Then the Son, who redeems us. And finally, the Spirit, who seals us as a guarantee. 3 persons, one unified purpose, all moving together since before time.
Now, the word Paul uses for this whole plan is mysterion. When we hear mystery, we think of an Agatha Christie novel, right? An unsolvable puzzle. But for Paul, it was something totally different. A mysterion was a secret that was hidden for ages, but is now being revealed by God. And what's the big secret? That God's ultimate plan was to unite everything, all of heaven and all of earth, under the headship of Christ.
So this massive cosmic plan, it doesn't just stay out there in the cosmos. It has a profoundly personal impact. Paul just zooms the camera in from the scale of the entire universe right down to the scale of a single human heart. And the transformation he describes, well, it's absolutely staggering, from dead to poem.
He starts with this incredibly stark diagnosis. He says, "You were dead in your trespasses and sins."
He doesn't say you were sick or struggling. No, you were dead. But then come maybe the two most powerful words in the whole letter. But God. That's the turning point of everything. But God, being rich in mercy, intervenes. And He doesn't just help us get a little better. He makes us alive, together with Christ.
And how does this happen? It's all because of charis, or grace. And what's so beautiful is that this word shares its root with the Greek word for joy. So think about that. Grace isn't God just putting up with you, through gritted teeth. It's His joyful, generous, totally unearned goodness aimed right at you.
But believe it or not, it gets even better. Paul says we are His poema. That's the Greek word we get our word poem from. So you're not just some forgiven project. You are His workmanship, His work of art, His poem. Your life isn't a problem that needs to be fixed. It's a masterpiece that's being created to show off the goodness of the artist.
And this new creation, it just demolishes the world's oldest and deepest divisions. Paul's readers would have instantly known what he was talking about. The dividing wall and the Jerusalem temple. That quote you're seeing, that's not a metaphor. It's from a real inscription that archaeologists have dug up. It was a literal death threat carved in stone. And Paul says that on the cross, Christ demolished that wall, creating one new humanity out of the two.
So, if all that is our new reality, if we're part of this new creation, this new temple, this one new humanity, then how in the world are we supposed to live? This is where the letter pivots. It's time for living the design.
And he makes that pivot with a single powerful word, therefore. That one word is the hinge for the entire letter. Everything in the first 3 chapters is about what God has done, who you are in Christ. And everything in the last 3 chapters is the therefore. Based on all that, here's how you now live.
So what's the goal of this new life? Paul prays that believers would be filled with all the pleroma of God. This word pleroma, it meant the full cargo of a ship, everything it needed for its long journey. The goal isn't just to have your ticket punched for heaven, it's to be completely filled, completely equipped with God's own presence for the entire journey.
And to live this out, Paul says we have to recognize something crucial. We're on a spiritual battlefield. He tells us to put on the full armor of God. But here's the key insight, and don't miss this. This isn't our armor that we're supposed to cobble together. It's God's armor. The same armor He wears in the book of Isaiah. We get to wear God's own equipment, not to go on the attack, but to simply stand our ground, the ground that Christ has already won for us.
It all comes together in one of the most soaring praises in the entire Bible. The power to live this incredible new life, it's not something we have to struggle and strive for. It's a power that is already at work within us. And the God who has that power, He is not limited by our small imaginations. Seriously, your biggest, wildest prayer is still smaller than what He is able to do.
So, we have to end with this question. Just think about this for a second. What if the most important thing about you was already settled, before you ever even showed up? Paul's letter just flips our whole modern idea of identity on its head. He's saying you don't create your significance, you discover it. You get to wake up to a purpose that was written into the very blueprint of the cosmos before the first star even had a name. And if that's true, well, that changes absolutely everything.